Learning to be serene, to live joyfully every day. Usually, doing countless good deeds goes unnoticed, but if we make a single mistake, even something as simple as breathing will be scrutinized. Therefore, as human beings, we shouldn't be overly concerned about how others perceive us. Live for a beautiful tomorrow, and don't be ashamed when thinking about yourself today. Time is a one-way street. Once passed, it doesn't come back. Life is sometimes very simple. Once you've made a choice, don't regret it. Humans are often contradictory, wanting empathy, but also fearing others to see through them. In life, overthinking can cause headaches, and thinking too deeply can lead to heartbreak. If someone intends to wait, they will surely wait until the end. But those who do so unintentionally might already grab another hand as soon as you turn your back. In reality, there are many people who might laugh at you, but very few who truly have you in their hearts. If you've been hurt in the past, let it go. Decisively don't carry that burden into the future. What has died shouldn't be clung to, nor should you overly hope for it. Growing up is a term that contains much pain. It's not just about achievements, but certainly about having to give up many things. Some paths can only be walked alone. The hardships and difficulties can't be shared with anyone. Cherish those moments because after all, we only have one life to live. Let go of distant illusions. Don't worry about the past and don't dream about the future. Focus your thoughts on the present. This moment is peace. Troubles are truly detestable when descendants no longer bother you, indicating they've grown up and moved away from your embrace. When parents no longer bother you, they might no longer be in this world. If a lover no longer bothers you, they probably have someone else. Friends who are needed but no longer bother you likely have some insurmountable divide. In truth, people need each other in life to solve many problems. Thanks to mutual help during times of exchange, many sorrows are resolved, bonds are formed through interesting experiences and gaining new knowledge. That is life. Therefore, cherish those who bother you and be thankful if someone ever reaches out to you. The value of adversity. We know many people, but how many truly help us? Regardless of having many or few relatives, see how many people see you when you face difficulties. Those you eat with daily might not surely help you when needed. Friends need to be of quality, not quantity. Like potatoes, no matter how full the cart is, it can't compare to a bright gem. If I have a cake and share half with you, it's friendship. If I eat one bite and give all to you, it's love. If I give it all to you, it's maternal love. Otherwise, hiding it, telling you I'm hungry, that's life's love. A poor man will see who truly loves him once. An ugly woman will realize who never abandons her after one time. A miserable life will make you understand who genuinely worries about you. Accompanying someone isn't because they're wealthy, but cherishing isn't because they're beautiful. Time cannot be saved. Possessions or looks cannot be preserved. Only sincerity can. Days and months cannot create feelings or truths, but can help you see a person's true heart. No need to be too clear, black and white. There's a saying, if the water is too deep, there are no fish. If a person is too narrow-minded, there's nothing there. Quarreling with family. If you win, familial bonds are lost. Calculating with a lover. If it's clear, the affection fades. With friends, if you win, the friendship no longer exists. When debating, people focus on arguments and forget that what's lost is the affection, leaving the person themselves hurt. What is black remains black, white remains white. The best is to let time prove. Give up personal stubbornness, use tolerance to view others. Adding a little enthusiasm, calmness, and warmth makes life always have sunshine, and your whole life will be a winner. Life is a process. Positive mood. Don't be ambitious, let everyone understand you, and don't expect everything to go your way. Life doesn't have a fixed mold, just a pure heart and passion. When faced with worries, find your own joy. Don't forget happiness. No matter how busy you are, remember to keep some youth. Don't lose your health. If tired, pause and rest. Don't lose the joy of life. Just keep your goal in mind and know what you're doing now, where you are, so you won't lose your way, reminding yourself. Always respect others and cultivate tolerance. Be grateful. Thanks to tolerance, you can become vast like 100 rivers. Be grateful to friends for their help and grateful to opponents because they make you stronger. Life has two things we can't avoid. One is to move forward, and the other is to stop. Are you using a positive mood to do so? A positive mood is the best companion to keep you happy and healthy. For those close or distant, if there's destiny, you should be willing to give, maintain good relationships, because everyday things are not insignificant when urgent. Hugging Buddha's feet is useless, so you need to know how to accumulate human kindness. Just like a bank account, the more you deposit, the longer you save, the higher the benefits. When facing issues, don't rush, don't jump to conclusions. Especially when anger arises, know how to put yourself in different positions to see things from multiple angles, making things bigger or smaller, and handling small matters without complications. It's better to resolve them as gently as possible. Definitely don't make simple things complicated. Have the awareness to know sufficiency. Most of people's worries stem from meaningless comparisons. There are people in the world who are not as good as you, and of course, there are those you can't surpass. When you complain about not having nice shoes, remember someone who doesn't have feet to walk. If opponents make you angry, it proves you haven't overcome them yet. They turn around to see who is scolding them, which is unnecessary. Like when bitten by a rabid dog, do you have to bite back to be angry? So don't worry too much about others' malice. Don't see work as a burden. Instead of complaining, frustration, face it happily, positively. See work as life, as art. You'll enjoy the joy it brings. Living another day is also a blessing, so know how to cherish life, appreciate others, not do things that make yourself deeply regret. The sun rises from the East Sea, sets in the West Mountains, sadness passes, joy lasts one day. If you don't worry about unnecessary things, life will be peaceful, spirit light. Life isn't about having hope to persevere, but perseverance brings hope. It's not about having opportunities to seize them, but not letting go so that new opportunities arise. It's not about knowing to work, but working brings understanding. It's not about growing up to take on burdens, but living responsibly truly matures. It's not about being rich to share, but knowing how to share makes you rich. It's not about breakthroughs to have challenges, but challenges create breakthroughs. It's not about becoming a leader to sacrifice, but sacrificing creates leadership. It's not about having benefits to thank, but knowing gratitude lets you enjoy benefits. It's not about having money to learn, but working hard to learn creates money. How to be happy in life. Having something also means losing it. Not every time you give, you receive an immediate response. Life always has its own way of operating. The future is always ahead. As long as we stride forward, accept our own freedom, overcome the pain and consequences to become a happy person. Forget the years and age. Don't let time make us old. No matter how old you are, as long as you feel mentally young, that's enough. Overcome the temptation of fame, because it's not substantial and impermanent. Everyone wants a bit of reputation, a bit of profit, then compete and grab it. Then when things don't go as you wish, you blame the unfair life. In reality, living a simple and normal life is the greatest happiness, and everyone should have a friend who is a treasure, but can't be a lifelong friend, while sometimes a companion becomes a lifelong treasure. The best is to have a soulmate. When you feel lonely, you can turn to them for a few words. But having a truly meaningful friend is not easy, so value quality in friendships. Build a support within yourself. When facing troubles, listen to your heart. Quiet yourself a space for your mind to calm down. Look at wildflowers by the road, those small. They all bloom, decorate life. The world suddenly becomes more beautiful when you live a happy life. Remember others' virtues, nurture your own ethics. Human responsibilities. In life, there are three main types of things. Personal matters, for example, what to do today, how to eat, who to help, happiness or sadness, all are determined by yourself. Others matters, generally, such as someone being lazy in work, someone else's unhappy marriage, a friend deceiving you, how to help but they don't appreciate it. These are things others do. Natural matters, typical like rain and storms, thunder and lightning, natural disasters, epidemics. These are beyond human control. We are mostly worried because we forget to manage our own affairs, meddle in others, and excessively worry about natural issues. To be peaceful and free, simply take care of your own matters, don't meddle in others' affairs, and don't disturb natural matters. Therefore, whenever you feel troubled and uneasy, consider whose matter it really is. You'll know how to untangle what you cannot reach. A perfect life, Living in this world, no matter how good you are, you can't receive everyone's love. No matter how well you live, there will be people praising and criticizing you. No matter how successful you are, people will comment positively or negatively. Some will admire you, others will hate you, and some who envy you will despise you. Life is like that. You can't satisfy everyone, so don't lose your essence just to please others. Everyone needs their own principles and self-esteem. We see others through their mouths, not as whole people, but as many different versions. You just need to be yourself. Being good is enough. In life, people have different perspectives. We see the same eyes, but different angles, same mouths, but different ways of speaking. Hearts are constructed similarly, but thoughts are very different. The same money, but different spending habits. Filial piety, right or wrong, good or bad, are due to different standpoints. Different circumstances lead to different views. Still humans, but each individual has their own way of living. Be confident to walk on your own feet. Even a tree without encouragement will still have its branches. Grass on the ground doesn't need care to thrive. Growing wild in deep mountains, even if no one wakes up, still emits fragrant scents, working without needing people. Everyone understands, just need to put your heart into it. Being human doesn't need anyone, everyone loves you. Just be straightforward and generous. Flowers have hundreds of shapes, thousands of styles, but still can showcase their beauty, emit fragrance without being blocked. Living in life, everyone has their own style. Why not support and climb together? Why lower each other? If you feel deserving, cherish it. If happy, preserve it. If someone makes you happy, get close. If moved, love them. Being human may be easy to say, but not necessarily easy to handle thousands of hearts, or manage your mouth and tongue of the world. Of course, it's not easy. Being human is not difficult per se. As long as you keep a kind heart and follow your own path, it's enough. A lifetime is not very long. Anyway, you've come this far, so live beautifully a bit. Compatibility is happiness in life. There are many things that don't have to go your way to be good. The sun doesn't rise early just because you're not happy. The moon doesn't stay silent all night because you scold it. Your own envy doesn't mean anything. The world will turn into a dark night, blurring your vision, and the light might not belong to you alone. In life, you only have a hammer and sickle, no grass that can't be cut. Work can be done by humans, no method is impossible. If you want, people will think of ways, otherwise they'll find reasons. Life is like a glass of water. Whether hot or cold, suitable temperature makes it drinkable. The flavor, sweet or bitter, as long as it suits your taste, it's delicious. Whether fast or slow, as long as it suits the auditory senses, it's pleasant. The 4 seasons, cycling regardless of spring, summer, autumn, winter, if they suit your mood, they're all beautiful. All you need is suitability with yourself. That's happiness. Keep some sincerity. Judge others' faults. If you aren't good, blame others' shortcomings. Self-judgment is already bad. Using your own mindset to evaluate others means no one is perfect. Being mean, pushing opponents to the end won't make them go to doom, but will only harm yourself. No way to retreat. Staring at the good and bad in the world can't cause anyone to lose anything, but makes yourself not have time to lift your head to see the vast sky and earth. A person who's too dictatorial won't have friends. Having too little heart only makes yourself exhausted. Only love can create meaningful feelings that can tolerate the world. When you have time, sit quietly to reflect on your mistakes when free. Don't comment on the good and bad of the world. Words, even if they don't directly harm, can easily cause wounds. The evil deeds of the mouth are no greater than slander, so be cautious. Open your mouth to avoid saying things that aren't there. Even joking should have moderation. When accusing someone, don't overdo it. Keep some verbal virtues. When scolding someone, remember not to be too harsh. Keep some generosity. Even if you're right, don't pursue to the end. Keep some tolerance. Handle matters without making things too severe. Keep a back door. Accepting others opens opportunities. Empathy with surroundings makes you more generous. A tolerant person is because they know how to use a kind heart, treat life. A person with qualities is because they always respect and respond to others. A person with cultivation shows it through a mild attitude towards everyone and knowing to think about others to deserve everyone's attention. If you respect the other party, you can treat everyone gently. Then your heart naturally becomes at ease. A non-competitive, non-grabbing attitude will have no worries, no fear. Nurture a good heart in daily relationships. Everything has its own destiny between people. If you see others as they are, they will be virtuous. If you see others as demons, they will become scary characters. Like looking in a mirror, if you just smile, you'll see a happy face. If you just glare, you'll see a sorrowful face. Among friends, it's the same. If you treat them with respect and reverence, they will respond gently and politely. If you scorn or shout, you'll receive dissatisfaction and contempt. Therefore, in life, treat friends sincerely, treat family with affection, treat loved ones with tolerance, treat enemies with forgiveness. If you always keep a kind heart and interact with everyone, gradually they will perceive and reciprocate with goodness. The quality of life will be elevated accordingly. Appearance comes from the heart's scenery, depending on the heart to change things. A sufficiently kind heart will show outwardly, then spread around, leading to sweet results. The most important thing, a person lives once. What is important? Some say it's cars, houses, and money. Because of that, many people waste their health, collapse mentally, underestimate life, and when you no longer have the car key you bought, others hold your house, others live there, your money is made by others, others spend it. So in a lifetime, what's most important? Some say it's status and reputation. Because of status, many people have to pursue it daily. Because of power, they keep fighting. Because of shame, they think in 100 ways, 1,000 strategies. Then when you have no one to care, the high or low status, those obsessed with low or high status, those curious about reputation. Little by little, 100 years later, gold and silver, white cars, tall houses, fame, profit can't be carried with you. The rich and poor become dust. The wealthy and the poor only have a grave. Whether male or female, all become dry bones. Therefore, all are not important. Living well each day is necessary. Maintain health, eat moderately, sow seeds of peace and joy first, a life of peace and warmth. Life's affection when successful, how many people surround you. When failing, no one cares. That's human life. Not meeting for a long time but still caring and inquiring is truly warm. Even if busy, tired, still remember, think of friends, cherish and keep family close. No matter what happens, never betray. Someone hot when cold isn't worth caring. Affection in life is like that. Pretense leads to broken love. Sincerity can feel others, when in disaster can see the warmth and coldness. Life's affection, when needed, can see clearly. Truly being kind, regardless of what happens between people, should be tolerant. Don't cover up. In affection, be sincere, but don't be infatuated. If not welcomed, know how to retreat. If not cherished, learn to turn your back. If style can't be admired, it's okay. Unreciprocated affection, don't be stubborn. Time shouldn't be wasted on meaningless things. Memories of affection shouldn't be placed where they don't deserve. Life has its pages. In life, many people see you, but few understand you. Many talk about you, but fewer help you. Many meetings can be there, but few can be trusted. In the end, tears must be wiped alone. Pain must be endured alone. No one understands, so you strive. No one helps, so you try harder. Don't expect everything to go your way. Just hope not to feel ashamed with a normal heart. If something should be said, express it, or else silence is also a form of intelligence. If something should be done, do it wholeheartedly, otherwise retreat. That's a form of understanding. If something should be shown, show it clearly, otherwise conceal it as a form of wisdom. People can trust but don't depend on it. If the filter has merit, accept it, otherwise don't embrace it. Step by step, walk through. Affection, bit by bit, shapes human life. Even 100 oxen cannot write. No one is without adversity all life. No one lives a life without suffering. As long as you keep a positive attitude, everything will be fine. Sometimes a malicious word can lead to conflict. A kind sentence can generate many good things. Sometimes advising someone, but sometimes just one sentence is enough to destroy everything. Therefore, every word spoken needs to be very careful. Think thoroughly to avoid regret. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Just learn the good, limit criticism, so anyone can teach themselves to improve. All day pay attention to others' strengths. Stop hating, accept differences, attract by compromise, look back at yourself and seriously learn, keep thinking strategies, plan, hope others are not better than you. Just silently strive to become strong. Sometimes look back at things that once troubled you. Obsession is really not worth mentioning. Sometimes reconsider things that caused you pain, light as the wind passing by. Therefore, when encountering any matter, don't rush, don't be stubborn. Be a bit alert, calm, think a bit. Then there's nothing impossible in this world. Light. Let go through troubles. Life is not a battlefield, so there's no need to define victory or defeat between people. If empathy increases, misunderstandings will decrease, distinguishing between matters and matters. If yielding looks increase, struggles will decrease. Some matters need patience, some people need to yield, cannot fight. Low or high doesn't necessarily have to beg for approval and understanding from anyone, because everyone has their own viewpoints and personalities. We often overvalue ourselves, which leads to worries about losing and thinking others don't understand us. In reality, being human requires knowing how to downplay the individual, reduce self-ego a bit, and put yourself in others' positions. You'll see life much more charming. Therefore, the saying goes, the more you open your heart, the greater the joy, the wider the tolerance, the more you receive. Don't talk behind others' backs. Also, don't worry too much about rumors about you, because a useless person has nothing to say. The more outstanding you are, the more you get noticed and criticized. In life, admitting faults is a form of honesty, while overlooking is a form of elegance. If you send honesty but don't receive elegance, it proves the other party is somewhat mediocre and vulgar. Others' tongues we can't control. The easiest is to keep a light heart and step over life's troubles. Different perspectives. Feeling tired. Change your perspective on life. Feel pressured. Change your environment to breathe. If doubtful, change your position and then evaluate. Hesitate. Try changing direction when upset. Change circumstances to find joy. When troubled, try changing thinking to resolve. When angry, try changing methods to solve. Feeling inferior, try changing thoughts when facing. Change perspective a bit. Sometimes you'll discover many differences. Keep the thought to dare to share, wholeheartedly a person who trusts you. Remember not to be greedy. Dare to lend money as someone who trusts you. Remember not to be untrustworthy. Dare to show weaknesses as someone who trusts you. Remember not to cause harm, whether it's kinship, friendship, or love. Everyone fears sending sincerity, receiving betrayal, trusting, but ending up empty-handed. Trusting a person is like a knife. Trusting your heart to someone is like sending your whole heart, so weigh carefully. If misplaced, it will become a weapon turning back to stab yourself. In life, to be trusted by others, make yourself worthy. If you keep your word, everyone wants to be friends. If you're serious, people will lean on you. If you're sincere, life will willingly put full trust, gratitude to live. Even tall trees cannot lack roots. People, no matter how glorious, cannot forget gratitude. A lifetime of remembering those who lend you money when in need, help you during hard times. Those who share sweetness will be tough when suffering. Those who cook and mix medicine when you're ill. Those who truly love even if you're empty-handed. Those who patiently guide when you know nothing. If you always remember gratitude, you'll win people's hearts. Those who have people's hearts will be respected. Those respected must have good qualities in life. What do you care about in life? If you center on money and wealth, you'll be very tired. If you see children as everything, you'll be exhausted. If you think love is the way of life, you'll suffer. If you see winning and losing as goals, you'll always be unstable. If you use tolerance as a way of living, you'll feel happy. If you take sufficiency as criteria, you'll always be cheerful. If you turn gratitude into motivation, you'll become kind. The level of goodness in life. Sometimes being underestimated by others just because you're too easygoing, making work seem like you can only help quickly. Just ask. You can forgive any mistake you made, endure any hurt you have. So knowing in life that some familiar people will forget once they're received, be thankful thinking you're strong. No need to worry, seeing you're generous, so don't keep limits. Kindness is good, but should know how to apply it to the right person in the right place. If you always ignore yourself to care for others, no one will care about your feelings. Enduring disadvantages is also a blessing. But sometimes you need to know how to express. If not, people will see you as clumsy, possibly mishandle everything. Kindness is not foolishness. Ethics is not naive in the heart. Everyone has their own thoughts and directions, so know how to express to maintain self-esteem and value the qualities you pursue. If you achieve it, a mindset depending on fate, you'll live a complete open life. If you hold a peaceful heart, you'll have a free way of living. If your heart has compassion, you can do many good deeds. If you nurture a grateful heart, you'll feel more happy. If you realize the law of cause and effect, decisions will become wise. If you know when to yield, life will be happier. If you keep a simple heart, everything that comes will be simple. If you develop a habit of daily reflection, you'll become more alert. The great things of being human, the most amazing is making others trouble. Children, the most difficult is clinging to parents, spouses. The most difficult is scorning each other, families. The worst is to disrespect and overturn parents. The most difficult is to endure children. Teachers, the most difficult is to train students briefly. The most difficult is addiction, frivolous play. Officials, the most difficult is overbearing power. Judges, the most difficult is to tear apart. Police, the most difficult is to punish brutally. Merchants, the most difficult is deceitful trading. Artists, the most difficult is to provoke obscene matters. Actors, the most difficult is to perform rudely. Entrepreneurs, the most difficult is blind investment. Doctors, the most difficult is greed for money. Drivers, the worst is fighting over winning. Friends, the worst is competing. Careers, the most difficult is the tendency to give up. Working, the most difficult is reputation. Mistakes, the most difficult is stubbornness. Not changing learning, the most difficult is laziness. Pleading for good behavior, the worst is whining. Eating and drinking, the most difficult is to violate customs. Talking, the most difficult is being boastful. Traveling far, the most difficult is forgetting loved ones. Things not to do if you like something, don't hurt those you love. Do we often make this mistake towards our loved ones? We are polite, courteous, but our close ones are often nagging. Passers-by who help a bit make us feel grateful. Loved ones worry so much that they still don't feel satisfied. We often carry bad moods and sour faces, treat those around us poorly, while patience and tolerance are given to random passers-by. Whenever you want to show anger, blaming others, don't forget that loved ones are a peaceful place. They help shield us from the rain and wind, not a garbage bin. The mood in this world, no one is good to us without compassion, but loved ones might because of us. They can accept everything. Sometimes even sacrifice more. The reason we can hurt someone is because they care and love us, so treat those who love us a little better. Don't hurt them. Choices in life. Regardless of friends or loved ones, no need for skillful words. Honesty and sincerity are enough. No need for oaths. Being able to say and do is enough. No need for more thorough analysis. Mutual understanding is enough. No need for doubts, assumptions, empathy. Trust is enough. No need for enthusiasm, impatience, calmness, tolerance is enough. No need for half steps. Just mutual feelings are enough. No need for intense passion, boiling, staying together until the end is enough. No need for wealth, prosperity, peace, health is enough. Choose the right career to succeed a lifetime. Choose good friends to be wise a lifetime. Choose the right circumstances to be happy a lifetime. Choose virtuous soulmates to be happy a lifetime. Choose optimistic living to be serene a lifetime. Choose to live peacefully with hands not to fight, but to protect those you love. We are lonely, unhappy, not because people don't sympathize, but because our hearts can't let go of someone. A truly good friend in life is hard to find, hard to let go, and hard to forget. You don't need to strive or hide. Those who understand will know who you are. Don't expose your thoughts immediately when meeting strangers. Know a few people. In front, show wholeheartedness, but behind, have different thoughts. Live a bit happily because life is impermanent, short-lived. Control your own mood well to be calm, peaceful, even after experiencing much pain will fade into oblivion. Nothing is permanent, because life is destiny and memories. The rest is to continue. Let go of all unhappiness yesterday, give today happiness, and send all your efforts to tomorrow. Everything has its own answer. If you've tried your best, there's no need to worry or be sad. Just follow destiny is enough. Journey of human life. A lifetime is like a journey towards your own grave. No one can walk the whole journey with you, including loved ones, family, and friends. If you're lucky to have someone accompany you for a while, when they have to say goodbye, get off the vehicle. Even if unwilling, you should be grateful and wave goodbye, because the next station surely will have someone else accompany you. bitter or sweet coffee is due to you leaving the road or adding salt. A grief doesn't lie in how to forget it, but depends on whether you have enough courage to pass it and reach the new. Well, human life is like a cup of tea. Newly drunk, you feel bitter, but that's not all. Passing the bitterness, you feel the mild sweetness. We are tired because we hesitate between perseverance and letting go, sometimes understanding, but in heart not wanting to accept the truth. Whoever steps into your life is due to destiny, but whether to bond long-term or leave suddenly is up to you. No explanation makes it easier, no stubbornness makes it open, and not being perfect is life. Don't blame others, don't mock anyone, and don't need to admire them. The sun shines to warm us. When storms arise, find shelter. Follow your dream on your chosen path, the world will be peaceful. Sincerity and happiness. Sincerity and happiness are for feeling, not for showing. Life is for experiencing, not for flaunting. Affection is for connecting, not for testing. Parents are for filial piety, not for demands. Friends are for sharing, not for competition. Loved ones are for caring, not for hurting. Money is for spending, not for measuring. Fame is for contributing, not for showing off. Material things are for using, not for hoarding. Trust is for certainty, not for pressure. Forgiveness and trust. When someone deliberately hurts, forgive them but never trust them again. Because forgiving someone is forgiving yourself, but blindly trusting again is giving them more chances to hurt you. We should trust everyone can correct mistakes, but let life verify it. Even if life has 1,000 reasons to worry, find a small story that makes you happy, even if the world is crying hard. What you need to do is keep a light heart, let go of all people and things you don't like, live with your present moment. If you know how to take care of yourself, don't rely on others, keep striving forward, you'll surely see the light and warmth on the road ahead. Before affection fades, we can't live a lifetime loving just one person. But surely there will be someone who makes us smile brightly, cry severely, and remember persistently. An umbrella now doesn't need to compare prices. After eating, you regret. If something is beloved, don't doubt it. After parting, don't sow resentment. Truly loving the wrong person is like choosing shoes that don't fit. Wearing them hurts your feet. Taking them off is hard. But hurting all the way behind you because of a bit of inability to leave is really not worth it. A person can't even control their own emotions, so even if you give them the world, sooner or later it will fade away in life. The saddest thing is once close, then become strangers. Being too serious leads to suffering because of trust being exploited, initially affectionate but turned indifferent. Affection is like holding sand in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it flows away. Sometimes people nostalgically remember the past, not because it's too beautiful, but because it can't come back again. But if it could come back, would it be different? Therefore, life needs to look straight ahead. If you can't find a reason to continue, remember the motive that made you choose and start from there. Life will be much simpler. In life, no one is irreplaceable. No wound is unhealable, just whether we accept it or not. Those accompanying you doesn't mean they'll appear when needed. Those who care about you aren't because they have nothing to do, need to worry about affection, no matter how deep it is, can't accept negligence, no matter how enthusiastic they are, can't endure dullness. Don't wait until someone turns their back to suddenly wake up. Don't wait until hurt to hurriedly grab the vast world. Fate and destiny are not easy. A small heart capable of holding you is a miracle, so know how to preserve affection. It doesn't form overnight, nor can you dissolve someone in a second. Slowly becoming strangers, feelings slowly fading in others' eyes. No lingering image to make in their heart, no longer a place for you, what to think about. People with self-esteem, don't let it be trampled. Hearts have feelings, so know how to listen. Affection is not someone who can keep it. Without companions, it will be a burden. Just alone in life's storms, the future can't be different. So know how to keep yourself. Lay it down and move forward. You'll see tomorrow in gentle peace. Remember, think of the far away, live life when beneficial. Don't give everything to yourself. Benefits concentrated to the end can't fully know, so stop. Even if you have reason, don't pursue others to the end of reason. The world, even debating 1,000 years, can't end. Even if you win, lose the gentle kindness. Even if you have talent, never mock others. Comparing people hurts each other easily. Comparing things leads to having to abandon something. Being human, if too clever, people around will doubt. Too perfect, easy to have conflicts. Too arrogant, be avoided. Overthinking causes worries. Paying too much attention to pettiness only obsesses yourself. Pursuing too much only exhausts yourself. Only when your heart feels happy, the days pass smoothly. Peace of mind makes life worthwhile. Cherish those around you because after this life, you may not meet again. Seize to enjoy the present joy because in a blink you might not have it anymore. In life, a person with a hot temper, mouthy, with a good heart, but will make others wary and avoid them. Even with enough reason, be a bit gentle. Need to be straightforward but mellow. One-time forgiveness is one-time creating good karma. The wider your heart, the greater the karma. When wanting to criticize others first, reconsider if you've perfected yourself or still have faults. Then speak. Encountering things, talking more is not as good as talking less. Talking less is not as good as speaking right. Don't be too harsh on those who err, but stay away from those who don't accept and correct mistakes. The 7 seasons. A person who doesn't have time for loved ones will eventually have to spend time in loneliness. A person who doesn't have time to rest will eventually have to spend time with illness. A person who doesn't have time to exercise will eventually have to spend time losing weight. Time is fair to everyone. If you use it now, you have to compensate later. Life is like a game of chess, and your opponent is time. The fiercest battles are sometimes measured in moments. Some decisions or words are made in an instant, but sometimes even using all remaining time can't compensate. Like a dying person, using all wealth can't exchange even a breath. Therefore, when healthy and still have time, try to do useful and necessary things. Don't lose and regret in sorrow. Wise words: don't wait for others to help you financially, because money is never enough for anyone, so learn to give. Friends helping each other is good, is kindness, but not helping is normal. Don't hold grudges because no one owes you anything. Train yourself to have an independent, resilient, optimistic, and happy spirit because ultimately only yourself directly relates to your life and death. Learn to be resilient. Never look at wealth and poverty to make friends. Even if someone has billions, it's unrelated. Don't become a servant of others. In life, some people can share because of you, even if they only have a piece of cake. Learn to see whom you can trust in this world. There still exists pure, passionate love, but it's only for Niu Lang, Jinu, Liang Shanbo, Zhu Yingtai, or Romeo and Juliet, because they all die very early, while we live longer. So know how to preserve it. Don't be too stubborn about anything. This world isn't just for you. The earth doesn't revolve just for you. Therefore, don't cling to what's there. We're too many just like mortal travelers, born with nothing, die without taking anything along. So learn to let go. A few enlightenments. Money and wealth are for spending. Enough to use is a blessing. Too much turns into worry and anxiety. Houses are for shelter. Don't turn into life's burdens, regardless of size. People living inside should be happy. Where the house is doesn't matter. Having fragrant flowers and long grass is the best position. Vehicles are for transportation. Don't turn into tools for flaunting. What car to drive doesn't matter, as long as you go home safely and happily. That's enough. Status is the result of hard work and training, not a privilege. Having moderate status is a blessing, because too high status, too strong world won't easily have peace. Eating is to nourish humans. It's a kind of medicine. Don't waste it too much. Eating sufficiently is nourishing. Overindulging will harm your body. People live once. Ultimately realize what? Life doesn't necessarily have to be too affluent, rich, just need each day to have meaning. Happiness doesn't come from comparing with others, but from slowly feeling joy. Enduring illness doesn't come from outside, but originates from within each person. The more you strive, the luckier you get. Happiness doesn't depend on wide or narrow houses, but on internal laughter. Simply being able to watch the clear sunrise, see the peaceful sunset, feel the miraculous life, enjoy humanity's joy. Yesterday, the path we walked had joy, happiness, and success. Alongside, there was also pain, suffering, failure. Wherever there were mistakes, redo them. Yesterday's failures will be the foundation for tomorrow's success. Cannot skip learning, and even more so, cannot refuse progress. Grasp today firmly, cherish the present, study diligently, practice carefully, steadfastly step forward. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow hasn't come, only now, here, the present. Diligently sowing, we'll have something to harvest later. Pursuing tomorrow, the future always holds many promises and illusions. The ideal is to plant seeds now to become true tomorrow. Don't fear tomorrow. We've worked hard in the past and present, so the future will surely be good. Therefore, no need to worry. It's the natural development rule, like day and night cannot separate. Every day in life is worth cherishing. Don't regret yesterday's hesitation and passively wait for tomorrow to come. Live fully with every present moment so you won't be ashamed of life's meaning. Lessons from things that don't go your way. Fingers, even if dirty, can't be cut off. Ill-fitting hats don't need adjustment, the size of the head. When a door closes, naturally another sky opens. The question is whether you see it or not. When you first feel pain, you must break the stubbornness. The question is whether you can let go or not. In human life, people do everything to have tall houses and wide doors. In reality, just needing a simple hut with you, a peaceful stone sitting down, can already enjoy the joy of serenity.
What happened on the fateful night before Siddhartha Gautama became Buddha? Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. In 623 BC, on the full moon day of the 4th lunar month, in the Lumbini Garden of ancient India, now located in Nepal near the foothills of the Himalayas, Queen Maya, wife of King Suddhodana from the noble Shakya clan of the Gautama family, gave birth to a prince. The news of the prince's birth spread among the people, bringing joy to everyone. The king invited several sages to examine the prince's appearance. They all concluded that the prince possessed 32 auspicious marks never before seen on anyone. They foretold that if he became a king, he would be a wise and virtuous emperor, and if he pursued the path of asceticism, he would become a great sage, an extraordinary figure. Thus, the king named the prince Siddhartha, which means wish fulfilled. The king also proclaimed that Siddhartha would succeed him and be known as Crown Prince Siddhartha. The Crown Prince grew stronger and more handsome each year, with remarkable development. He possessed not only robust health, but also exceptional intelligence, excelling in both literature and martial arts. Although his abilities surpassed others, the prince never displayed arrogance or disdain. Instead, he maintained a gentle demeanor, showing compassion and equality towards all beings. One day, during the plowing festival, the prince accompanied his father to the fields. While everyone enjoyed the festival amidst the warm spring sun, with flowers blooming and birds singing in a scene of peace and prosperity, the prince sat alone, cross-legged in meditation under a tree. He thought to himself that the outward beauty of the world was not the true reality, as the oxen had to laboriously pull the plow, and the farmers toiled under the hot sun, covered in sweat and dirt just to earn food and clothing. Lost in these thoughts, the prince entered a state of deep meditation. Time flew by, and the prince turned 16. He had completed all his studies and training. The king, wanting his son to succeed him, arranged for the prince to marry the beautiful and virtuous Princess Yasodhara. The luxurious life with a gentle and loving wife seemed perfect, and everyone thought the prince would continue to live in such comfort, eventually taking over the throne to govern the country. Later, the princess gave birth to a son named Rahula, which brought even more joy to King Suddhodana. However, despite all the happiness surrounding him, the prince felt a deep and troubling sense of unease. He was curious about what life was like beyond the palace walls. One day, the prince asked the king for permission to go outside the city gates to see the world. At the eastern gate, he saw an old man with white hair, a hunched back, and missing teeth, walking with great difficulty. At the southern gate, he saw a man lying on the grass, writhing in pain, and upon inquiry, learned that this person was suffering from illness. At the western gate, he encountered a dead person lying on the side of the road. Witnessing these three tragic scenes, the prince realized the nature of suffering in life and wanted to find a way to save all beings from suffering, illness, and death, but he did not yet know how. A few days later, the prince again requested to go outside. This time, at the northern gate, he saw a man sitting in meditation under a tree, completely undisturbed by the people passing by. Seeing this, the prince felt a deep admiration, and within his heart conceived the idea of finding a way to end suffering, illness, and death. He returned to the palace and presented his wish to leave the household and practice asceticism to the king, but his request was denied. The prince then posed 4 questions to the king, saying he would abandon the idea of renunciation if the king could solve them. 1. How can everyone stay young forever and never age? 2. How can everyone stay healthy forever and never become ill? 3. How can everyone live forever and never die? 4. How can everyone be free from suffering? The king listened to the questions but could not provide any solutions. He acknowledged that aging, illness, suffering, and death are natural parts of life, and that there was no way to solve them. One must simply accept them as inevitable. After witnessing the 4 sights at the 4 gates of the city, the prince realized that the solution lies in understanding that life is suffering. Everything is temporary. Even our own bodies will one day turn to dust. He knew he must seek the truth to save himself and all sentient beings. The prince made up his mind to search for the path of liberation. The opulence of the palace, the riches, the beautiful wife, the loving son, all of it could not compare to the great liberation and the goal of freeing sentient beings from suffering. One night, Prince Siddhartha looked at his wife and son as they slept, and then, accompanied by his horsekeeper, he silently left the palace in the darkness of the night. He was 29 years old at the time, abandoning everything in pursuit of the path to enlightenment, armed with nothing but his own 2 hands. What lay ahead of him was uncertain. After crossing the Anoma River, the prince used his sword to cut off his hair and gave his robes, crown, and sword to his horsekeeper to bring back to the king. He donned a simple yellow-orange cloth, voluntarily living the life of a monk, and accepted all material hardships. From living a luxurious and princely life, he suddenly became a wanderer, enduring heat and cold like a homeless person, exposed to the elements, with no house or shelter. He made the shade of trees and the refuge of caves his home, seeking protection from the sun and rain. He braved storms and used his bowl to beg for food to sustain himself. He first sought to learn from the sage Alara Kalama, but was not satisfied with the teachings he received. He then went to study under another sage, Udaka Ramaputta, but the attainments there still did not resolve what he sought. They were not the ultimate truth, nor did they lead to supreme nirvana. So, the prince moved on once again. He ventured to the outskirts of the city of Rajagaha in the kingdom of Magadha, where he practiced on his own. At that time, there was a sage named Kaundinya, whom King Suddhodana had invited to predict the prince's future when he was born. Hearing that the prince had renounced the world to seek the path of enlightenment, Kaundinya, along with 4 other ascetics, sought him out. Back then, many believed that only through extreme asceticism could one achieve liberation. Kaundinya persuaded the prince to practice this path. From having a strong and robust body, the prince gradually became emaciated, with only skin covering his bones. He used many methods of asceticism, including eating only wild herbs and fasting while meditating, even holding his breath as part of his practice. After a long period of intense self-mortification, death seemed near. Yet no signs of truth or enlightenment were found. His mind was weakened and his spirit exhausted. The prince firmly decided to abandon this path of extreme asceticism, realizing that a healthy body and a clear mind were necessary to contemplate and realize the truth. He began consuming simple plants again, but he did not revert to a life of indulgence. Instead, he laid out the path of the middle way. The prince understood that practicing the middle way would cultivate wisdom, which in turn would bring about freedom of the mind, leading to enlightenment. The 5 fellow ascetics criticized Siddhartha Gautama for lacking patience and immediately left him. The prince thought, "I have searched everywhere, yet no one has the capacity to guide me to achieve the goal I desire, because no one has yet emerged from ignorance." He then went to the foot of the Bodhi tree, using grass as a meditation seat, and vowed, "If I do not attain the truth, even if my flesh and bones are crushed, I will not leave this place." He faced countless internal challenges, such as desire, anger, ignorance, pride, and doubt. Additionally, he had to confront external forces like Mara, the demon of temptation, who used all kinds of devious tricks to hinder his meditation. In the end, he triumphed over both his inner and outer struggles, bringing his mind into peaceful concentration. On the 49th night of meditation, he attained the knowledge of past lives. He could see all his previous lives, from 1, 2, 3 lives, to 10, 100, 1,000 lives. He knew where he was born, what his life was like, and where he was reborn after death. He understood everything. Continuing to meditate until midnight, he attained the divine eye, gaining insight into the entire cosmos and the nature of its formation, existence, destruction, and rebirth. He saw how worlds were created, sustained, decayed, and disappeared, comprehending the entire process. Still deeply absorbed in meditation until around 2 a.m., he attained the knowledge of the extinction of all impurities. He eradicated all defilements and realized the source of suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path to the complete eradication of suffering. He knew that he had been liberated, no longer subject to rebirth. His spiritual cultivation was complete, the work was done, and he would not return to his previous state. Slowly opening his eyes, he saw the morning star shining brightly in the sky, and he experienced full enlightenment, completely understanding the universal truth and possessing supreme wisdom. He attained the highest and perfect enlightenment, and thus became known as the fully awakened one, the Buddha, with the title of Shakyamuni Buddha. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha observed the universe and saw countless worlds. He looked upon sentient beings and realized that each being possesses Buddha nature, but they are submerged in darkness and ignorance, drifting in the ocean of birth and death, unable to escape the cycle of samsara. The Buddha knew that if he revealed the Dharma, some people would be able to endure the practice and understand it. Therefore, he decided to teach and guide sentient beings, regardless of how difficult it might be, because it was his duty as a Buddha, just as all the Buddhas in the universe have done, are doing, and will do, to lead beings out of suffering and into liberation. The Buddha's propagation of the Dharma was based on 3 principles. First, the Buddha thought of teaching virtuous and knowledgeable people who were not deeply tainted by worldly defilements. He recalled Alara Kalama, the first sage he had sought guidance from. Using his divine eye, he saw that Alara Kalama had passed away 7 days prior. Next, the Buddha thought of Uddaka Ramaputa, the second sage he had learned from. Again, using his Buddha vision, he saw that Uddaka Ramaputa had just passed away the day before. The Buddha then remembered the 5 fellow ascetics with whom he had practiced severe asceticism. He went to the deer park in Sarnath to meet them. Initially, the 5 ascetics doubted the Buddha and criticized his way of life. The Buddha had to explain to them 3 times that his intention was not to return to a life of indulgence. He merely sought to maintain a body strong enough to endure firm meditation practice. This was the middle way that needed to be followed. The Buddha stated, "Now I have attained the path and achieved the deathless, unborn, and unconditioned state. If anyone follows the path as I have taught, they too will realize this truth. Moreover, if I had not known where you were, how could I have found you here? Furthermore, I have never spoken these words to you before, so now you can understand." At that time, the 5 ascetics gave up their practice of extreme asceticism and followed the Buddha's teachings. His first sermon was on the 4 noble truths: birth, aging, illness, and death cause suffering. To end suffering, one must find its cause, which is rooted in greed, anger, and ignorance. The cessation of suffering is achieved through the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Gradually, all 5 of the ascetics attain sainthood, with the first to attain the level of arahant, being Kaundinya. At that time in India, besides the belief in asceticism as a path to enlightenment, there were also views that when a person dies, the soul and body vanish entirely and nothing remains. Some believed in living a life of indulgence, enjoying all the pleasures of the world without concern for morality, as they thought that pleasure was the only reality. They believed there was no need to control desires, no karma, no rebirth, and no consequences of good or evil deeds. Everything was just a natural instinct of the strong overcoming the weak. Thus, the Buddha had to confront these misconceptions. After gaining his first 5 disciples, the Buddha converted 55 Brahmins, with Upatissa, later known as Sariputta, as the leader. These people, along with the original 5, formed a group of 60. thereby establishing the Sangha, the monastic community. From this point forward, the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. Upatisa's parents and wife were the first lay devotees of the Buddha. Within 3 months, all 60 of these initial disciples firmly adhered to the precepts and attained arahantship. The Buddha instructed them to spread the Dharma to various places, while he himself headed south to Uruvela to convert the fire-worshipping sect led by Uruvela Kassapa. Uruvela Kassapa, along with his 500 disciples, requested ordination from the Buddha. Kassapa had 2 younger brothers, Nadi Kassapa, who had 300 disciples, and Gaya Kassapa, who had 200 disciples. Upon seeing their elder brother follow the Buddha, they also joined, bringing their disciples along. The Buddha then delivered a sermon to these 1,000 disciples, discussing the 6 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, being engulfed in the flames of desire, anger, and ignorance, leading to birth, aging, illness, death, sorrow, suffering, and despair. He encouraged them to contemplate the impermanence of forms, sounds, scents, tastes, and touches, and to detach themselves from sensory attachment. With resolute practice, they all attained sainthood. After ordaining over 1,000 disciples, the Buddha went to the kingdom of Magadha to fulfill his promise to King Bimbisara that he would return after attaining enlightenment. When the king learned that the Buddha had achieved enlightenment, he was overjoyed and made offerings to the Buddha and the Sangha at the Bamboo Grove Monastery, Veluvana. During this time, Sariputta and Moggallana, who were seekers of truth, came across many teachers but were not satisfied. One day, Sariputta saw a monk begging for alms in the city of Rajagaha, radiating the demeanor of a noble sage. Sariputta approached the monk, whose name was Assaji, and engaged him in conversation. From Assaji, Sariputta learned that everything arises due to conditions, and the Tathagata, Buddha, elucidates the origin of these conditions and the path to their cessation. Hearing these words, Sariputta felt his mind awaken with wisdom. He further inquired and learned that the great sage was residing at the bamboo grove. Sariputta then went to inform Moggallana of his newfound understanding. Moggallana, upon hearing the teachings, also experienced profound clarity. Together, they led a group of friends to the bamboo grove to request ordination from the Buddha. Within a few days, both Sariputta and Moggallana attained arahantship. The Buddha acknowledged them as the foremost among his disciples. Later, the Buddha met the wealthy merchant Anathapindika, the richest man in Savatthi. Moved by the Buddha's teachings, Anathapindika made a grand vow to build a monastery in the northern part of India to offer to the Buddha and the Sangha. Around that time, King Suddhodana, upon hearing that the Buddha had attained enlightenment, sent messengers 10 times to invite the Buddha back to Kapilavastu. Each time, the messengers, upon meeting the Buddha and hearing his teachings, requested ordination and stayed to practice without returning. Finally, the 10th messenger, Kaludai, stayed to practice but remembered the king's words. After attaining enlightenment, he requested the Buddha to return to visit his father. On his journey back to his birthplace, Kapilavastu, the Buddha taught and enlightened everyone he met along the way. When he arrived at Kapilavastu, he stayed for 7 days, during which he taught and converted the entire royal family. Many members of the royal family followed him and renounced the world to practice the Dharma, including Nanda, Ananda, Anuruddha, and his own son, Rahula, who was only 7 years old at the time. Throughout his life of spreading the Dharma, the Buddha did not always encounter smooth sailing. There were times when he had to face challenges and opposition. This opposition often came from teachers of other sects, false doctrines, superstitions, or even from those who sought to compete with him. However, the Buddha resolved all such situations calmly. For example, on one occasion, a Brahmin insulted the Buddha with harsh words. The Buddha remained silent and did not respond. After a long time of receiving no reaction, the man asked, "Why don't you reply when I insult you?" The Buddha responded, "If you offer a gift to someone and that person does not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "The gift belongs to me." The Buddha then said, "Likewise, I do not accept your insults, so they belong to you." Hearing this, the man stopped insulting the Buddha. In a similar incident, the Buddha replied differently, saying that harsh words are like spitting against the wind. The spit only ends up falling back on the face of the person who spits. Another time, the daughter of a non-believer came forward, pretending to be pregnant, and accused the Buddha in front of everyone, claiming that the unborn child was his and demanded he take responsibility. The Buddha remained silent and used his miraculous powers to cause the fake belly to fall off, revealing the truth. The crowd laughed, and the girl, feeling humiliated, left in shame and did not dare to look back. In the 20th year of the Buddha's ministry, he encountered Angulimala, a notorious criminal who had severed 999 fingers from 999 people. Using his miraculous powers, the Buddha made it so that Angulimala could not catch up to him, despite running to the point of exhaustion. Angulimala finally shouted, "Monk, stop!" The Buddha replied, "I have long since stopped, but you have yet to stop." Angulimala said, "I have already stopped. Why do you say that I have not?" The Buddha responded, "The Tathagata has stopped. He no longer harms any living being. You, however, continue to kill your fellow humans with blood-stained hands. Thus I have stopped, but you have not." Right then and there, Angulimala threw away all his weapons, approached the Buddha, knelt down and requested to be accepted as a disciple. The Buddha consented, and Angulimala practiced diligently and soon attained arahantship. Another event involved Devadatta, the Buddha's cousin, who tried to usurp leadership of the Sangha. Driven by ambition, Devadatta committed many wrongful acts against the Buddha, such as rolling a boulder down a hill to harm him and smearing poison on his fingernails in an attempt to wound him. However, all his attempts failed, leading to his death and rebirth in hell. Regarding the training of monks, the Buddha adapted his teachings to suit each individual's circumstances, rather than adhering to a rigid method. For example, Venerable Chulapanthaka, despite being given a 4-line verse to memorize, could not retain it for 3 months, constantly forgetting either the beginning or the end. Observing this, the Buddha gave him a method of counting his breaths. Shortly afterward, Chulapanthaka's mind became serene and unwavering, and he attained sainthood. Venerable Nanda, on the other hand, often struggled with thoughts of desire. The Buddha taught different meditation techniques according to each disciple's specific needs. For instance, he instructed Venerable Vangisa, who often felt anxious and worried, to contemplate the white mark at the tip of his nose. The Buddha taught Venerable Puna to observe his breath, whether it was long or short, cool or warm. Within a short period of time, both attained arahantship. The Buddha paid close attention to the progress of his disciples wherever they were. Each day, he would use his divine vision to observe their practices and personally guide them when needed. His spirit of equality was a hallmark of his teachings. The Sangha was composed of members from all strata of society, from the highest classes like royalty, Brahmins, and nobility, to the poorest commoners. All practiced diligently and attained sainthood. Over 45 years, the Buddha and his disciples traveled throughout India, being warmly welcomed everywhere they went. From kings and officials to commoners, from the elderly to young men and women. All were cleansed and refreshed by the light of wisdom and the cool breeze of compassion that the Buddha imparted. Wherever the Buddha was present, false doctrines and external sects retreated and disappeared like morning dew before the sun. The Buddha's teachings, later compiled into scriptures, were divided into 5 periods by later generations. 1. The first period. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha delivered the Avatamsaka Sutra, elucidating the profound and wondrous nature of ultimate reality and the path to enlightenment. 2. The second period. He taught the Agama Sutras over 12 years, focusing on self-cultivation and personal liberation. 3. The third period. During the Vaipulya period, which lasted 8 years, the Buddha taught that having attained personal liberation, one must also save others, thus raising the level of his disciples' understanding. 4. The fourth period. The Buddha taught the Prajnaparamita Sutras for 17 years, advancing to more sophisticated theories such as the concept of emptiness and the true nature of all phenomena. 5. The fifth period. During the Lotus Sutra and Nirvana Sutra period, which lasted 8 years, the Buddha proclaimed that all his disciples were capable of carrying on the Dharma, and that the reason for his presence in the world was to reveal the Buddha's wisdom, enabling sentient beings to enter into the Buddha's knowledge and vision. He prophesied that 1,250 of his great disciples would attain Buddhahood according to their capacities and conditions, some sooner, some later. The Buddha's teaching career reached its perfect fulfillment. 3 months before his passing, he announced his entry into nirvana, demonstrating the impermanence of the physical body. He emphasized that the body, composed of the 4 elements, earth, water, wind, and fire, will ultimately return to these elements, just as an old cart must eventually wear out. This is the law of impermanence. What remains is the true and unchanging teachings that the Buddha had expounded for 45 years, a complete doctrine that all could follow to achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and death. In his final teaching sutra, the Buddha instructed Venerable Ananda, his attendant, saying, "After I pass into nirvana, rely upon yourselves. Light your own lamps and continue along the path of the true Dharma. Depend on yourselves and not on any other teachings. Attach yourself only to the true Dharma." He continued, "Affection is impermanent. Where there is union, there will be separation. Especially remember that this body is not the self. Life does not last forever." The Buddha entered parinirvana in the Sala Grove of Kushinagar between 2 sal trees at midnight on the 8th day of the 2nd lunar month in 543 BC. His body was cremated by the people of Kushinagar, his disciples, and the citizens of the Malla kingdom. His relics were then divided into 8 portions to be distributed to 8 different kingdoms, where stupas were built to house them, allowing people to pay homage and make offerings, thereby honoring the wisdom of the Buddha. Venerable Sariputta shared some of the innumerable and wondrous qualities of the Buddha, illustrating his unparalleled wisdom and virtue. The Buddha resided in the Palalian forest of Nalanda with a community of 1,250 monks. At that time, Venerable Shariputra spoke, "While I was alone in my quiet retreat, I contemplated that no Shramana or Brahmin of the past, present, or future, in terms of wisdom, supernatural powers, merit, or spiritual strength, can compare to the Blessed One, let alone surpass him." The Buddha responded, "Shariputra, do you know the mental dispositions of the Buddhas of the past? How do the Buddhas of the present, across the 10 directions, dwell in precepts, dharma, wisdom, liberation, and the state of abiding in liberation?" Shariputra replied, "Blessed One, I do not know the mental dispositions of the Buddhas of the past, present, or future across the 10 directions. I cannot comprehend such matters, so why did I have such a thought? On what grounds did this thought arise? Would the Shramanas and Brahmins believe my words?" Shariputra continued, "Even though I do not know the mental dispositions of the Buddhas of the past, present, or future, I am able to understand the Dharma or teachings of the Tathagata. Blessed One, you have explained to me the nature of cause and effect in the most precise, intricate, and wonderful manner. I have heard and understood that each Dharma is within the ultimate Dharma. Thus, I firmly believe that the Tathagata is a fully enlightened one, adept in distinguishing all Dharmas in the supreme manner." The Blessed One expounded on the unsurpassed teachings, such as the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the 4 right exertions, the 4 bases of supernatural power, the 4 jhanas, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the Noble Eightfold Path. Because of this, the wisdom and supernatural powers of the Blessed One are truly remarkable. None among the Shramanas or Brahmins can match the Blessed One, let alone surpass him. The Blessed One spoke on the supreme teaching of entering the womb. There are 4 types of beings who enter the womb. 1. Those who do not know when they enter the womb, do not know when they dwell in the womb, and do not know when they leave the womb. Most beings belong to this category. 2. Those who know when they enter the womb, but do not know when they dwell in the womb, and do not know when they leave the womb. 3. Those who know when they enter the womb, know when they dwell in the womb, but do not know when they leave the womb. 4. Those who know when they enter the womb, know when they dwell in the womb, and know when they leave the womb. Thus, the insight of the Blessed One is unparalleled. His supernatural powers are unmatched. There is none like him, let alone greater than him. The Blessed One spoke on the supreme teaching of reading others' minds. There are beings who, without thinking, hearing from others, Receiving instructions from non-human beings, self-observation, or hearing from someone else can directly perceive and state that the mind of this person is like this, the mind of that person is like that. Observing in this way is truly accurate. Therefore, this teaching is the highest, with unparalleled insight and miraculous supernatural power. None can match the Blessed One, let alone surpass him. The Blessed One expounded on the supreme teaching of liberation. Due to various causes and conditions, the Blessed One would state that one person attained the stream enterer stage, another attained the once returner stage, another attained the non-returner stage, and yet another attained the arhat stage. Thus, this teaching is supreme, with unparalleled wisdom and miraculous supernatural powers. None can match the Blessed One, let alone surpass him. The Blessed One spoke on the supreme teaching of recollecting past lives. When practitioners enter meditative concentration, they can remember 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, 10 lives, 100 lives, 1,000 lives, or countless lives. Remembering details such as names, parents, occupations, family, and lifespan, they can recall everything clearly. Thus, this teaching is supreme. None can match the Blessed One, let alone surpass him. The Blessed One spoke on the supreme teaching of the Divine Eye. Practitioners, through the power of meditative concentration, can observe the birth and death of beings according to the karma they have created. Some are born ugly or beautiful, some are born into suffering or happiness. All these occurrences are due to their bodily actions, speech, and thoughts of good or evil, determining whether they enter favorable or unfavorable conditions. Thus, this teaching is supreme, with unparalleled wisdom and miraculous supernatural powers. None can match the Blessed One, let alone surpass him. Furthermore, the Blessed One spoke on the supreme teaching of the 4 bases of supernatural power. Using skillful means and entering meditative concentration, samadhi, through the power of concentration, one can develop countless supernatural abilities. Such a person can transform a single body into numerous bodies, and then merge those numerous bodies back into one. They can pass through walls, mountains, and rocks without obstruction, walk on water as if on land, walk through the earth as if swimming through water, and move through the air like a bird. This person can emit smoke and water like rain, with flames blazing intensely. Furthermore, they can enlarge their body to reach the heavens of Brahma, and extend their hands to touch the moon and sun. Thus, among all beings, deities and humans, of the past, present, and future, no one can compare to the Blessed One, let alone surpass him. Only the Buddhas of the past, the Buddhas of the present, and the Buddhas of the future in the 10 directions are equal to the Tathagata. The respect of kings, officials, and the common people toward the Buddha is as follows. After the Buddha traveled to Diluli of the Shakya clan, King Pasenadi of Kosala, along with a large entourage, came to visit the Buddha. When the king arrived, he announced his name 3 times, then respectfully knelt down and bowed his head to the Buddha's feet before sitting to one side. At that time, the Buddha asked, "Great king, as the king of Kosala, what do you see or know that makes you humble yourself and respectfully bow at my feet in this manner?" King Pasenadi responded, "I seek the Dharma from the Blessed One, so I offer my respect. I believe that the Tathagata, the perfectly enlightened one, is the one who teaches the complete and perfect path. Blessed One, when I rest on my royal throne in the capital, I see parents and children, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, relatives and kinfolk arguing, speaking ill of one another, and causing harm, even to the point of killing each other over trivial matters. If those who are close to one another behave like this, how much worse must it be for strangers? The suffering is immeasurable. Here, however, I see the disciples of the Blessed One, gathered from all walks of life and from various parts of society, following the Blessed One's teachings, practicing together without disputes or hatred. If there is someone who leaves the path, they do not speak ill of the Buddha, the Dharma, or the Sangha, but instead they blame themselves, saying, "I am evil and lack virtue, as I cannot follow this discipline for life." This is the pure conduct that inspires my respect for the Blessed One. I see some Shramanas and Brahmins from other traditions, having practiced for only 5 or 10 months, who give up their training, become defiled, and are bound by desires. They become ensnared in the sensual pleasures that they themselves despise. Meanwhile, the disciples of the Blessed One voluntarily commit to the path for life. I have never seen any other group living and practicing together as steadily as those under the Blessed One's guidance. This is the pure conduct that inspires my respect for the Blessed One. I see some Shramanas and Brahmins with emaciated and unsightly bodies, covered in scales that no one wants to look at. I wonder whether they are like this due to illness or because of some secret misdeed, making their bodies so gaunt and unsightly. When I inquire, they reply, "Great King, this is due to illness or a natural condition." On the contrary, I see the disciples of the Blessed One eating only one meal a day, unattached and unafraid, with calm faces and serene expressions. Their bodies are pure and their conduct is strict. I think to myself, if it were true that the satisfaction of sensual desires leads to joy and vibrant complexion, I, above all, should have been the first to experience such joy. Yet, this is not the case. This is the pure conduct that inspires my respect for the Blessed One. Moreover, I see some Shramanas and Brahmins of other sects who proclaim their own intelligence, wisdom, and mastery of scriptures, defeating others in debate, boasting of their fame, and easily refuting the views of others. They say, "Let us go and question the Shramana Gautama on this or that topic. If he answers, we will question him further, and if he does not, we will leave." They hear that the Blessed One is traveling through certain villages or forests, and they seek to meet him. But upon meeting him, they dare not speak or ask questions. There are a few who dare to ask, and when the Blessed One answers clearly, they feel great joy, bow their heads, and circumambulate him 3 times before leaving. Others, after listening to the Blessed One's teachings, feel elated, prostrate at his feet, and immediately request to take refuge. Buddhism and the teachings of the monastic community often inspire individuals. After hearing the Buddha's teachings, some people feel joyful and enthusiastic, requesting to leave the household life and become a monk. They diligently study and practice the Dharma, and, in this very life, realize the supreme state of holiness, brahmacharya. When such a venerable attains the arahantship, they say, "Before meeting the Blessed One, I was on the verge of ruin and destruction." Why is that? Because before, I was not truly a Shramana, monk, yet I called myself a Shramana. I was not a true ascetic, yet I pretended to be one. Now I am truly a Shramana, truly a practitioner of the holy life. This is the pure conduct that inspires my respect for the Blessed One. Furthermore, I am the ruler of my country. I have the freedom to do whatever I want. Even though I hold such great power, when I preside over the affairs of the state, I do not have the freedom to speak. I might say, "Be silent. No one asked you to speak." Yet no one pays heed. Officials argue and interrupt each other, making it impossible to come to a resolution. However, whenever the Blessed One preaches the Dharma surrounded by a large audience, I have observed people falling asleep and even snoring. When someone beside them gently reminds them, "Do not snore," as the sound disturbs others and the Blessed One does not wish to hear it, that person immediately wakes up, alert and attentive. I think to myself, the Blessed One is truly extraordinary, a master who skillfully guides the great assembly in a marvelous manner. Why? Because the Blessed One does not use weapons or coercion, yet everyone listens and follows his teachings, attaining peace and happiness. This is the pure conduct that inspires my respect for the Blessed One. Moreover, there are high-ranking ministers like Vasakara and Kanthaka, the 2 chief ministers who assist me. I cherish, trust, and provide them with everything they need. But even I cannot command their respect as much as they revere the Blessed One. Once, while traveling with the 4 divisions of my army, I stayed in a village house along with these 2 ministers. I noticed that when they meditated at night, their heads faced the direction where the Blessed One was residing, while their feet pointed toward me. Seeing this, I thought, these 2 ministers do not respect me as much as they respect the Blessed One. This is the pure conduct that inspires my respect for the Blessed One. I am willing to spend my entire life revering, respecting, serving, and offering to the Blessed One because I have the opportunity to be near a perfectly enlightened being who teaches a completely true, virtuous, and incomparable Dharma. The Buddha possesses the 6 great qualities: great strength, great courage, great wisdom, great compassion, great joy, and great equanimity. After 6 years of enduring countless hardships and challenges, the Buddha emerged victorious, surpassing all other champions among humanity. Who else has conquered their own mind and subdued their own desires as he did? It is difficult to conquer others, but conquering oneself is even harder. Therefore, he is worthy of the title Great Hero, Great Strength, Great Compassion. The Buddha renounced everything, not for his own sake, but to sustain sentient beings. Out of love and compassion for humanity, he sought to free all beings from suffering and lead them to happiness by discovering the truth. He is deserving of the titles Great Compassion, Great Joy, and Great Equanimity. The Buddha, like a fragrant lotus rising from the mud, remains untainted by it. He never called himself, nor did he allow others to call him, the savior of the world. Instead, he taught everyone to liberate themselves, as each person has a pure nature. When all defilements are eliminated, only purity remains, which is liberation. Rather than positioning himself as a divine entity that demands submission and fear, the Buddha demonstrated that both humans and deities have the potential to achieve the highest enlightenment. Like the Buddha, through his own effort, he opposed the caste system as it hindered the progress of humanity. The Buddha advocated for equality, criticized the institution of slavery, and condemned outdated customs, such as the slaughter of animals for sacrificial offerings to deities. He advocated for the protection and support of all sentient beings. The Buddha advised everyone not to believe blindly, even if it is a belief passed down by their ancestors, an old custom, a written text, or the words of a great teacher. Instead, one should investigate, contemplate, and verify the truth for oneself. The Buddha taught a pure and true doctrine that was clear, easy to understand, and could be practiced to yield results. Many have followed this path and reached the ultimate truth. The Buddha lived an exemplary and noble life, enduring hardships and difficulties throughout the land of India to guide sentient beings and help them achieve liberation from suffering. His compassion was boundless, and his merit was infinite. Therefore, to repay even a fraction of his grace, what should we do? We should follow the light of the Buddha, his immense sacrifice, boundless compassion, and brilliant wisdom. His life serves not only as a shining example for Buddhists, but also for all people, even those who are not Buddhists. If one considers the Buddha to be a superhuman, he would be a superhuman above all other superhumans in history, deserving of respect, veneration, and admiration from everyone. Disciples should remember his final words. All Buddhists are aware that the Buddha's teachings are precious. But if we do not study and practice them, it would be in vain. He reminded us that everything is subject to dissolution. Only the truth remains unchanging and precious. Thus, be diligent in your efforts to attain liberation.